Hi there, this is Richard, the developer of MakeTile, and I just wanted to give you a quick sneak peek of one of the features of MakeTile. So in the comments yesterday, somebody asked whether or not it was possible to use MakeTile to create a layout of, a sort of interior or a building like this. Um, and then fuse all those tiles together so you could print everything out as one piece or as two pieces. And the answer is yes. So what we've got here is a little building which I've made just with MakeTile with the with a little menu up here. And all of these pieces are currently individual tiles. So we've got our corner pieces, we've got sort of chimney bits, we've got gable ends, and then we've got a roof piece here. So I could just sort of print this out, select all these, make them 3D and print them out, but they'd all print out as individual tiles. And in this case what we want is we want this to be sort of an individual building, or what we actually want is to be for the bottom bit to be one piece, the top piece to be another bit, and that way you can take the roof off as a little lid, and you can still use the interior if you've got a game going. Right, so this is actually really easy to do. All I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything. I'm going to make sure that one of my tiles is active, and I'm going to click on Make 3D. And MakeTile is now going to think for a little while because it's going to be converting all of these tiles into real geometry. So what it's doing is it's taking these textures, it's making a little displacement map out of it, it's subdividing all the tiles, and then it's displacing the actual geometry to create something which is real rather than being just a flat texture. So this does take a little while when you've got several tiles going on. Right, okay, so that's been made 3D and this is all sort of real geometry now. You can see that our little gable ends are looking a bit weird. This is because there's not enough geometry with a number of subdivisions to pick up all of the details. So I'm just going to whack that up to 9 on each of my gable ends. And 9. And that's now picking up all that geometry. Okay, cool. So the next step is to select everything, and again I just need to make sure that one of my tiles is active, and I'm going to come down here and I've got, where have I put it, object converter, and we've got a little option which is flatten selected tiles here, so I'm just going to click on that. It's not the greatest name for that button, but what it does is it does the equivalent of flatten image in Photoshop, if you've ever used that. So it takes everything, it takes our tiles, and it applies all modifiers and all the fancy stuff which MakeTile and Blender is doing in the background, and what we're left with is just sort of pure geometry. So there we go. Now that's a lot of geometry. Each of these is an individual vertices, and if we were to sort of take this and sort of put it in our slicer, everything would be very slow. And these are still, individual tiles. So we want to get rid of some of that geometry while keeping as much of the detail as possible, and we want to merge everything together. So I'm just going to select the bottom, and that's selecting the floor and all of these bottom walls, and I'm going to come down here and we have voxelize settings, and we've got merge selected, and I've got voxel size is 0.01, which is fine, and then adaptivity, which controls how much stuff is simplified when we voxelize. So I'm just going to click on voxelize objects, and again Blender and MakeTile are going to think for a while, and what this is doing is it's joining all of these meshes together, and then it's reconstructing them out of voxels, which are tiny little cubes, and then it's simplifying it. And doing it that way means that everything becomes one mesh, but it's also you get less errors and stuff than if you do the usual sort of method of joining things together, which is to boolean them. So we now have our bottom as a single mesh. And if I just tab into edit mode, you'll see that there's still a lot of geometry, but it has actually simplified it where you've got the flat bits and it's kept more of the geometry in the sort of, where all of the blocks of stone meet, and down at the bottom you can see everything's merged together. MakeTile will actually have an option on export to simplify everything further, but I haven't actually implemented that. That's just decimating it. So I'm just going to unhide everything, and then I'm going to select the top, make sure one of my tiles is active, and come down here, voxelize objects. And there we go. So we now have our roof as one object, and the rest of our building as another object. So these can just be, easily printed out. So obviously I haven't put doors, haven't put windows on this. That's a feature which is going to be implemented yet, and it's going to be really quite easy. You'll just use the asset manager to drag a window or a door onto one of your tiles or onto your building, and MakeTile will do the rest. So it'll cut the holes where the holes need to be done, and then you can just fuse everything together like this and print out your tile. So if that sounds cool to you, then make sure you back it on Kickstarter when it launches on the 4th of August. That way I can, implement more tiles, I can implement the doors and the windows, and I can just speed everything up, make it slicker, and finish off the asset manager. Right, bye for now.